What is going on, everybody? My name is Conor Lawler. Welcome back to the week of Hero or Zero here on the Heroes for Hire podcast. We are back again talking one comic book character, as we do every single week. We talk their good points and their bad points, so we generally just give you a bit of a rundown of everything to do with that character. I am joined by my best pal, Mr. Shaun. Me and Shaun, how's it going?
Good, Conor. Evenings are gone, aren't they?
The evening, I'll tell you something now, with the clocks going back, the evenings are gone, and it's a terrible shame.
It's tough. It's dark at 5pm. What are we doing?
But here's the thing, Shaun, here's something that I know you're super excited about. Still in the high 20 degrees.
Surely that's all positive, right?
I give you a negative, but a positive. The strawberries are still growing. So when you think about it, we're still winning.
Oh gosh, you don't have to turn the heating on. Nearly the dead of winter. It's fine.
like nature's destroyed. But to be fair, my oil bill is low.
Oh, there was no snow on Mount Fuji this year. For the first time in 130 years, it turns out.
I'm to start the episode with. It's Friday, Shaun. People have finished a week of work. They come on the show and we're existential crisising them straight away.
I'm sorry, is this your first time on the show? This is what we do.
True. We are all going to die. Shaun, so this is Hero Zero. So Shaun normally chooses Marvel characters and I normally choose DC characters. And how the show works is that I haven't told Shaun who I'm doing. We just do a little report, maybe a little introduction of the character. Maybe if you haven't heard of them, that's even better. We don't cover Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Captain America, mostly because
Spider-Man,
people know who they are.
None of those.
Yeah. So we kind of try and stick to characters maybe you haven't heard of, but this week I do have a pretty cool one, and I wish I would call this guy DC's coolest unknown hero.
That's a bold claim to make.
Yes. Only appeared for I think maybe 7 years in comic books and has never been seen since.
Okay. Like recently or like back in the day?
Back in 1994 was his first appearance.
Ancient. The oldest I can imagine, folks.
The strawberries weren't grown in November back then. But Shaun, if this is somebody's first episode, you don't have to do anything, just chill out. If it's your second or above, we'd really appreciate 5 stars, a like, a follow, a share. 5 stars on Spotify, there's 3 dots up the top, just click on that. You can go just rate the show. 5 stars, it'd be amazing. Yeah, thank you so much.
5 stars on Apple as well. There's a whole other like leaderboard that they have us on.
I don't know how it works, but apparently the more people click on that, the algorithm likes us more. I'm not quite sure. It likes us pretty good now, but I'd like to be liked more.
It likes us right now, but we're an acquired taste, let's be honest. So if you can just, up those numbers a little bit, folks, we'd really appreciate it.
We're coming for Joe Rogan.
We're the new Joe Rogan.
No, I don't want that. We also recently did a Patreon review over the Patreon. Yes. If you want to head on over there, there's loads of movie reviews over there that you can get access to every single month. We do a movie review, we stick it up. It's like an extra content, bonus content, exclusive episodes that only the patrons get to listen to.
Great fun. Great fun. We're a little bit more relaxed on those episodes as well, Conor, because it's just our friends over there.
So people would say that we're uptight right now, is what you're saying.
I'm in a full business suit, as are you. I mean,
I'm stroking a cat for some reason.
You're facing away. He's swiveled around. That's fine.
What is this laser? Oh no. So Shaun, this week I am going to be covering one of the Starmen, or Starman, Shaun.
I have no idea what this is about.
So recently I say, but like 2 or 3 years ago, that's recent to me, I did a report on Stargirl, right?
Yes.
And obviously she has her own CW show for a little bit. It was a whole thing. But Stargirl, very famous. But of course, before Stargirl, there was Starman.
Of course there was.
Of course there was. Women couldn't be heroes before that.
In the 90s, hell no.
No, so like in the 40s, Starman appeared, right? So I'm going to be covering, however, the 5th Starman, I think. That is Mr. Jack Knight, who, having read about him, I think Shaun is going to be your new favourite superhero that you've never heard of.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Jack Knight, I will say off the bat, great name. Great
knight
name
is
for just a
spelled
man.
like an armoured knight.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. Creators James Robinson and Tony Harris. His first appearance was in 0 Hour, Crisis in Time, in September of 1994. But he did have his own little run in 94 that started as well. So that was technically his main first appearance. So in terms of the report, the 1990s showed grim time for superhero comics. These DC and Marvel comics had descended into an almost unreadable rabble of overworked poses and like chaotic storytelling because lots of things were happening, but it was just kind of mental.
Yeah, everything was like big events was how you sell comics. There was a whole thing where they tried to take shading out of comics, so everything just looked really flat for a while.
Yeah,
to try and make it faster.
It was a weird time, right? And so along that time, James Robinson shows up, and I think he starts doing this little story called Starman, and I think it's possibly one of the best comics of the 90s, having like read it now. I would probably put it up there with maybe Grant Morrison's JLA run, Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Like, it's pretty fucking strong.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, like, it's really strong. He shows up, he just knocks it out of the ballpark and then just leaves.
Just no notes, just drops the mic and walks away.
From 94 to 2001, Robinson told a single story about superheroism as a legacy, and when he was finished, that was it. It's an approach that feels lacking in superhero tales when you have never-ending adventures of, like, Spider-Man, say, who around that time was being cloned multiple times, and they just kept telling the story over and over again.
Best storyline there's ever been and never will be.
The hook for Starman was that he was actually a legacy character. Originally one of DC's less prominent superheroes from the 40s, a cool looking dude who flew around with like a gravity rod but never really had much personality.
Cool. Love gravity rod as a weapon, by the way.
Fantastic. Robinson shows up and he changed all that. He liked the character, but he realised there wasn't really much meat on that from the 40s, and there had been several Starmen since that hadn't really gone anywhere, and he was like, I have a cool idea. It was one of those where a writer came along and said, I have a cool idea for this really small character.
Interesting. Okay.
Instead of the studio going to them going, we want you to write for Starman.
Yeah, and it's not like they're saying, hey, I have this new take on Superman. It's, I have this new take on a character that no one fucking cares about.
Exactly. So to give you a little bit of a backstory, in the 40s, Ted Knight was a millionaire playboy and a brilliant scientist, Sean, as they all were in the 40s. He was a white man.
Ah, I see. Oh, like me.
Working with the man who designed Phantom Lady's black light ray, he invented a means to draw power from the stars and became the first Starman. It was the 40s. He drew power from the stars, which gave him very vague powers that they could use in a multitude of ways.
I see. But that's like, this is the era when you can breathe in some vapours and get powers.
Well, Asbestos Lady was running around at this point as well. So, like, they were just like, okay, there's stars up there. This lad can control the power from them. Just,
I love the idea of just like an absolutely off his face on early 40s cocaine comic book editor, just looking around the room, looking up at the sky for anything that he can use for a superhero.
And he looks at the moon, he's like, no, too big.
No.
And he just goes slightly to the right. As such, he's the protector of a city called Opal City and a classic member of the JSA and the All-Star Squadron, which was like classic hero team-ups from back then. The JSA, of course, very famous. He's an integral part of the JSA, and he had a long and distinguished career. It included disappearing into limbo when the rest of the JSA all vanished in the comic books, and then reappearing again during 0 Hour. Now, the thing with the JSA people from the 40s is when they brought them back in like the 80s and 90s, what they did was they kind of aged them all up. They had been aged, but like not to the point that they were 120, but they were all kind of like 50 and 60.
They were like retired-ish from heroing, and they were more like advice kind of thing.
Yeah, and so what then happens is that you find out that Mr. Ted had 2 children with this woman during the years, and you find out that he has this whole family, right? So he has 2 sons, and he's married to this woman. He's living a very happy life. He's like 60, former Starman. He had retired. His mother died. This is Jack, by the way. So this is when we're introduced to Mr. Jack Knight, who's only a young lad at this point.
The 5th Starman to be.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not going to start getting into numbers because it gets really confusing. His mother died when he was young, and he grew up in the shadow of his legendary father. As a boy, Jack idolised him, keeping a scrapbook of his exploits, just wanted to be like his dad. However, as he got older, the relationship with Ted kind of turned sour, as he kind of started to feel like, I don't know if it wasn't in even a bad way, just like as a teenager he was kind of like, this guy's very full of himself, like everyone thinks he's great but he's not actually that great, he's kind of a dick ahead of a father. Because
he probably sees him as a person, because he's around him all the time. Yeah.
And everyone's always telling him how great he is, and he's like, well, he's not actually that great. So he kind of turns a little bit sour. Jack began to rebel, finding his father's career as Starman embarrassing and rather silly, dressing up as superheroes, putting on the tights, fighting crime. He thought the whole thing was ridiculous. But Ted had 2 sons, so he had Jack, who were doing the report on, and his other brother, David. And so David is a scientific genius. He is the one that loves his father like so much that he follows all of his advice, follows all of his just like wisdom, any sort of lessons that his father gives him, he goes along with, and he's like, yeah, absolutely, he's a straight A's, he does it all right.
He's a good little boy.
Jack, on the other hand, not a good little boy. Jack, well, he is very clever. He just decides,
but he has his own for me thing. Yeah, he has his own opinions.
And Jack becomes rebellious, and he's like artistic as well. So he's like the opposite of his brother in every way.
Starting to like Jack a little bit.
The brothers never got along very well, and they kind of fall out. And David, the good son, always strove to please his father and wanted to one day become the new Starman. Jack, on the other hand, had numerous fights with both his father and his brother, and he just he got strongly into punk and new wave music, and then...
Let's go!
I knew this was going to get him in. Also, his hair is your hair, just to let you know.
Really?
Then he threw himself into painting and jiu-jitsu, just to kind of keep himself entertained. He also acquired an obsessive taste for old items, which we would today consider collectibles. So he becomes like obsessed with just older items. He's obsessed with the mementos. He's just like completely the opposite of his dad and his brother.
That's really cool, and also me as hell. I like this dude.
When Jack reached adulthood, his father retired, and when he retired, he decided to pass on the role of Starman. But he passed it on to David, because Jack doesn't want it. Jack hates superheroes. He has no interest in being superhero. He just wants to live his life, and he goes off. So he gives the superhero title Starman to David with like the magic rod and all that, so he gets the powers. And that was fine for Jack. He never wanted to be a hero. He was perfectly happy running his junk shop in Opal City, not needing anything from his father.
Oh, okay. So... that's really interesting of it. He's a legacy hero who never fucking wanted it.
No, he hates it. He had no interest. So his brother David takes over. However, at the same time, one of his father's arch enemies, the Mist, he was getting older as well, and he was rapidly descending into he was becoming a bit senile in his old age. Right. And in one last hurrah, he comes after his most hated enemy, and he ordered his children, Kyle and Nash, to attack Ted and his family and just be like, one last hurrah, we're going to take Starman out before I go.
Just a hater to the absolute end.
Down to the end. Right. And so his son and daughter, Kyle and Nash, they show up and they attack the older Starman and the new Starman, who is David. Jack is nowhere to be found. He's not there. He has no interest. So he's just in his little shop on the other side of the sea.
Just working away.
Kyle murders David Knight weeks into his unveiling as the new Starman. And the new Starman is killed.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, and is the dad, the original Starman, is he killed as well?
He's not killed, but David, he's retired, so he wasn't even the hero at that point.
Oh, okay.
He couldn't really do anything about it. He's just old. And so Dave is the new guy and he gets killed.
The perfect next Starman is now dead.
Is dead, right? And so what happens, Sean, is that it falls on Jack. Jack is the last one left. His brother has been killed. And he gets given the cosmic rod, and he is forced to take on the Starman mantra.
Holy shit!
Yes,
and how, like, is he upset about this, or is he like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do it? Like, brother's dead.
He's kind of very like, he doesn't want to do it, but once his brother's killed, he's like, you bastards. Like, I'm going to fucking sort you out, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's revenge.
It's revenge at this point. So he swore that, however, afterwards he kills Kyle, the guy who killed his brother, in battle. But
he'll straight up kill people?
See, at this point he kills them because he's so mad, and afterwards he swears that he's never going to kill anybody else.
Classic. You get one out of you and then you're done.
And so he gets misarrested and the daughter arrested, but the death of his brother had a profound change upon him, and he then recognised that Opal City needed a hero. And Jack agreed to fulfill the role if his father agreed to devote his science to helping humanity rather than superheroics.
Oh, that's a pretty good bargain that he's struck there.
So he's like, I'll become Starman and carry on your legacy, but you use your scientific brain to help the society instead of yourself.
You harness the power of stars in the 40s. You could probably do some good.
And you used it to put on tights, father.
I'm just saying.
There's people dying.
A bunch has happened since then.
He was a reluctant, however, new superhero, and he doesn't really see himself as a superhero. He just kind of is like, right, well, I'll do it. He refuses to adopt the Starman costume, fashioning a custom-made one from his junk shop that was basically just like a leather jacket over like a Hawaiian shirt sometimes. He doesn't give a shit. Like, he just wears his normal street clothes.
He's just going to work, essentially.
Yeah. He even refitted the cosmic rod into a staff to better suit him, so it would have like a cool staff instead.
So he can lean on it and smoke, presumably.
Because he's just a cool dude. He then meets a supervillain called Shade, who had fought his father many times, and he wanted to, and he actually is older now, and he wants Jack to become Opal's new champion. And he insists that Jack read his journals to understand his hometown and his place in it better. So this story is literally all just about him not wanting it and then like getting it just through like sheer coincidence. And now he has to kind of go through the hero's journey, but from the opposite version. It's now like, well, I don't, okay, who am I when I'm a hero?
He's got all the power, but he hasn't gone, like, he doesn't.
Because he knows who he is without the powers. Like, he literally spent his whole life not wanting them.
Yeah, he is an individual who then got powers that demanded he be someone else.
Exactly. And during this time, Jack met and fell in love with a woman named Sadie Falk, and they develop a relationship, and Sadie tells Jack that her real name is Jane Sadie Payton, and she actually seduced Jack originally to try and convince him to find her brother Will, who was the 5th Starman, which makes, I apologise, Jack is the 6th Starman.
I see. Okay. And so she seduces him. Could she not have just asked, just out of curiosity?
Look, I think this part of it is a bit weird, but all it works is that she seduces him because her brother is lost in space, right? So, right. Well, technically he's meant to be dead, but she's like, oh, he's definitely missing in space, and I need Starman's help. So she seduces Starman, even though she could just ask him.
And he'd probably be like, I guess
I'll probably have a look somewhere.
You have to sell comics, don't you?
Jack agreed to find him, and he actually built a rocket ship and he goes to space.
Can Starman fly or no?
Starman can... I'm trying to remember. See, it
Probably
depends
depends who's writing them.
Yeah. I'm going to say yes for this one, yes.
Okay, but he needs the rocket ship. He can build a rocket ship.
See, the cosmic rod is super powerful, so it can, like, make people fly.
I get you. But probably maybe can't make him breathe or something like that.
It also, he doesn't have any superpowers, technically.
It's on the rod. So if you let go of that rod in space, he's fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's done. After a long adventure in space, Jack finds Will alive and soon discovers that he is actually... No, he's actually the 7th Starman. Because in the story, he finds Prince Gavin, who's the 6th Starman, and they're both in space together for some reason.
How is there so many Starmen at once?
They just adopted the name. Like, if you type in Starman, there's like at least 9 of them.
I got David Bowie, actually. That makes sense.
And so this is like, he goes on all these adventures, he becomes Opal City's hero, and then in 2001 the story basically comes to an end. The comic book run, after 6 years, just finishes. Jack learns that Sadie has decided that his career as a hero is too dangerous, and that she's actually pregnant with their first child. So he makes the decision to move away to San Francisco, and he just goes back there and he just retires again, and he just becomes a family man with his daughter.
What the hell? That's class.
And he gives the cosmic rod to Courtney Whitmore, who then calls herself Stargirl.
So he passes it on. And
he passes it on to Courtney, and that's how she becomes Stargirl.
Says, "Never contact me. I'm done with all of this.
I do not need any help from anybody." So, like, Robinson's, like, his Jack Knight is like this fantastic, multifaceted creation. Like, he's an antique dealing ex-punk rocker who spent most of his life fighting his famous father, never set out to be Starman, and just becomes him accidentally.
This is the coolest shit in the world.
I told you. So, Jack is smart, clever, irreverent. He's sometimes funny, sometimes he just takes it a bit too far. He's full of one-liners, he quips. Was he the first? Someone said, like, what, is he the first true Gen X superhero? Like,
possibly.
He's just kind of like, he's just a guy stuck in that situation and aware of how absurd the whole thing is.
I love the idea that there's some, like, guy who read the original Starman in the 40s and then had a kid around, like, I don't know, the early 80s. And then tried to introduce that kid to the new Starman.
It does make sense.
You know? And it's just like, and now the kid is 15, 16 and has this punk rock version of his dad's favourite superhero. And
the thing is, like, at the time, DC is full of Spawn, and, like, you have Wolverine over in Marvel, like, all these fantastical characters going on, and you just have this guy who's just a superhuman character who's just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I've got a Hawaiian shirt on, like a leather jacket. I'm just trying my best.
I found a picture of him here, and he just looks like a guy holding a staff, like, and he's just done with everyone. And
he just wants to run his little pawn shop with his, like, mementos and all, and he just gets interrupted.
Yeah, he had a whole life going. And then it all got fucked up.
When Robinson drew his Starman story to a close in 2001 and Jack Knight rode off into the sunset, DC Comics did something that still seems beautifully rare. They let Jack rest. Stories have rarely ever truly end in superhero comics, as we know, but this one actually did.
That's really interesting. Do you think he's mostly forgotten about at, like, DC editorial, or it's a conscious thing to let him? Oh, you think he's just fully out of their mind? No,
I think also Stargirl came along and she was super popular. True. And she's a really great character, so, like, that's absolutely fine. You can move forward with that, but it's just this, like, really niche, interesting character who only was around for 6 years, and technically he arrived at the end of 94, so, like, 5 years basically. Yeah, it does feel like this is my Marvel brain talking, but as a reactionary element to, like, Hobie Brown and Spider-Punk, I feel like there's something that could drag him back in the next few years or something. Yeah, but then the problem is, how does he come back? Because he appears in some stories, like very, very rarely, like super rare. Like I'm talking like maybe
his own issue again. Like
never appears again because he's just retired. He just has a family and just goes away.
He's just living, and he's just like, there's enough heroes.
He popped up, so he's popped up in a cameo appearance here and there, but there's been no Starman Reborn storyline or like Starman's back storyline.
I guess because he passed on the mantle as well.
Yeah, he doesn't need it.
It's not like, they need this one specific skill set that only Starman has.
Yeah.
It's like there's other people in the DC universe who do everything that Starman does.
And then like throughout his run he kind of gets to the point where he actually kind of sees things from his father's point of view as well, and he has that like character growth that he's kind of like, actually helping people is good, like, and they kind of have to make up, I guess, because he was like always resented him because he's like always spent his time helping other people and he never hung out with his own family, and then he becomes the hero.
Position years later,
and so when he has the family, that's why he resigns and just retires, because like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not putting my family through that. Because that's the thing, he can understand it but choose to work against it as well.
Exactly. And in terms of powers and abilities, all of his powers come from the staff. Super loads of powers. Just it kind of does a lot of shit. Moves like
does whatever it needs to do, basically.
Whatever it needs. So that's the best part, right? So in terms of abilities, jiu-jitsu, boxing. He's just a good fighter. He's been trained by Wildcat. In boxing.
That's always huge whenever anyone is trained by Wildcat in DC.
Wildcat, if anyone doesn't know, is like this, he's basically like this world heavyweight boxer in DC, and if he's trained, you're normally pretty good. He's very good at punching people in the face.
Like myself.
A dangerous man. So Shaun, that is my report on Mr. Jack Knight.
That's just a really cool character, and I'm glad he kind of stays where he is. I think you don't need to do anything else with him.
I think they don't ruin it. Like, I think the only time this ever gets done again is if James Robinson comes back and is like, I'll write it again, but like nobody's touched him since.
Yeah, I guess because again, as you say, Stargirl was introduced and she was super popular, and then the landscape of comics, like the difference between 1994 comics and 2001 comics, very, very different. Yeah. I don't think that character works as like a, let's say, like post 9/11 kind of comic book character.
Yeah.
You get me?
You're probably right. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. It's one of those where it just came along at the perfect time. I kind of, like, Grant Morrison had that major run in the 90s. He had, like, obviously Animal Man as well. Like, and Aztec, and then he has the JLA. Like, he was just smashing it. I think James Robinson, like, he has this one story, he comes along at the right time, he's the right age, he writes this character, and then he just like, he resigns and he passes it on, and he creates Stargirl, who's a super popular character, and like it like even carries on to the next thing. Yeah, it's a continuous train of this is just good stuff happening. Yeah. So that's my report on Starman, Shaun, the 7th, technically. Very good report. I can't wait to hear about the other 6, Connor. I'm not doing them. Would you like me to take us out? Yeah, sure, why not? Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of Hero Zero. We will be back on Monday with an episode of the Heroes for Hire podcast, and then next Friday with another episode of Hero or Zero. Big thank you to everyone over on Patreon. Again, patreon.com/Heroes for Hire podcast is the way to support us over there, and you get access to all of our movie review shows. We're trying to nail down a live stream hangout at some point, but things are busy all the time these days. Yeah. There is other ways to support us, though. There is the merch store, heroesforhire.ie/shop. Twitter is @HeroesForHirePod, the 4 is the number 4. Facebook is Detective Divilment's discussion group. Instagram is Heroes for Hire podcast. And the best way to ever help out the show is to tell one human being that we exist. Just the one, please. And I think that's about it, Connor. I think so. So I've been Conor Lawler. I've been Shaun Meighan. I shall see you all next week, guys. Bye. Bye.